In 1969, when we initiated the drive to create federal OSHA, the amount of money that the state departments were spending on worker safety was measured in a few dollars per worker. I think Texas was something like $5 per worker a year, essentially nothing. And so when OSHA was started, there were great hopes set with a trade union movement finally on board and money coming into federal OSHA, that there would be an invigoration at the state level. And to some degree there was. But it's all back down to 1960s. Again, it's disaster. The number of inspectors has been declining, the number of MDs going down to zero. It's a total collapse. And our public officials are responsible, our corporate criminals are responsible. And I would put the responsibility on the Attorney General, Jerry Brown, to invigorate the law enforcement process. He has a significant authority, and he has worked on environmental emissions, but these are occupational emissions in the workplace. They both produce death and injury and disease, and he's got to pay more attention to it. I understand he has ambitions to become governor again. I'm going to be writing him a letter basically saying, where is the Attorney General of California? Here. In Los Angeles, we were at a news conference with some of the Downing workers, and they were so afflicted and sick. I was wondering how they could even stand up. They're being poisoned on the installment plan, and nobody cares. Their two senators in Washington don't care, representatives don't care, Department of Public Health doesn't care, Ca-OSHA doesn't care, district attorneys don't care. We're basically seeing the final stages of abandonment of American workers by giant corporations and by the indentured nature of the law enforcement establishment. So I'm glad we're all here today, and Steve has done a very good job bringing together the details. And I must say I'm shocked myself at the details. The International Labor Organization, for example, says that there should be one inspector for every 10,000 workers. Now, that's part of the United Nations, and it's based in Rome. And in California, it's one inspector for every 92,000 workers. And the last doctor has just left in 2006. He was a public health official, and now OSHA doesn't have a doctor. Now, the afl-cio in Washington has at least 12 million members after the split, and it has one person full-time working on occupational disease and injury. We're talking about 58,000 Americans who die every year from occupation-related disease and trauma. And the major union confederation has one person full-time. Very dedicated. She's been there for 25 years. Sometimes they don't even give her full-time support. And that basically says it all to me, because you can expect businesses to be cruel and marginalize innocent workers. You can expect government to surrender. But when you have the unions themselves, the leaders of whom are making very good money, special pensions, all kinds of expense accounts, basically not be concerned with their rank and file, with few exceptions, like the California Nurses Association. So we're going to all work together to make this a front page issue again. And the people who are going to help make it are the workers themselves and their families, some of whom are here today. Because we're dealing here with a kind of homicide in the workplace that is rationalized as just being, well, you know, so sorry. It's the way the ball bounces. The workers' comp system is broken. There's all kinds of deliberate underreporting of injuries by corporations, something we discovered in 1969. We thought OSHA was going to turn it around. But actually, underreporting of injuries is a very powerful argument to turn this situation around, because that really is ultimate cruelty, isn't it? First, you have workplaces that kill and injure and make sick workers, and then you don't even give them the respect to count their numbers. That's the way it was in 1969. I remember making that point at congressional hearings before OSHA was formed, and it was very, very powerful. So when things get really bad, the arguments get better, right, Steve? And we have very, very powerful arguments. And also, people have to take to the streets, have to demonstrate in front of Attorney General's office, demonstrate in front of Ca-OSHA, demonstrate in front of the chief corporate culprits, and we're going to make this a part of our campaign. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't talk about occupational death and injury and disease, and we have no competition from the major party candidates. They never talk about it. I don't remember seeing John McCain or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton ever talk about it. It's like it's in the backwater of the political scene. So it's time for a new militancy. You got to do this at least once a generation, because the corporations 24/7 keep coming and coming and coming. And now we can accuse them of abandoning the country in terms of employment, globalization. So they've lost the patriotic argument. They've lost the market verdict argument. You know, we're just doing what the market demands, because they now go to Washington for bailouts, as Wall Street is doing now. So they are really very vulnerable, but they're not going to be actually vulnerable unless we become much more militant and much more demanding. And I hope that the families and the workers themselves will lend their grievance and their pain and suffering to this effort as much as they're humanly possible. Thank you.